this computer. Hey, there we go.
Hey, welcome to our cosmic journey. Today is the 4th of November, 2023 at 1:10 p.m. here in beautiful Berlin, Germany. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Jake. It is actually quite beautiful. Like
Oh,
today was like beautiful Berlin winter day. It was
yeah,
sunny but cold, crisp.
but
It was
not
very nice.
penetrating. There's this whole thing about like the
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 Russian whip.
wind coming down from Russia is not that. It is a very
Yeah.
calm, nice wind, as it turns out. The leaves
Yeah.
have not blown all the way off the trees yet, so that's
Yeah.
nice as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of happening in real time.
And I think that we also are reflecting the mood of the city through our looks. We were just commenting about like how so I have this microphone here because I have the ambitions to go back to podcasting. I have a ring light here. And Trey was asking me, like, oh, did you turn the ring light on or not? And I was like, no, this is just natural light and everything. And Trey was just making mention that my camera seems to treat me very well, while his camera can color correct him to hell.
Doesn't doesn't help this at all.
But you know what? The wizard beard has been trimmed way back.
Yeah, yeah,
Also,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was due to actually it was ChatGPT. She gave me all this really great advice about my facial hair because I was telling her that it had gotten very straw-like because I had been dyeing it so much, and that I was like, sort of debating like, should I shave it off or like what should I do? She gave me really great advice. I followed it today, and here we are.
here we are, all shaved up, ready to go. So today is the episode is called a little bit. I think we might be too clever by half on this one. The viewer will have to let us know.
This was all
This
my doing. This was
this
all my
episode
doing.
This episode is called Foundation by Isaac Asabove, and we'll go into a little bit more detail on what that means. We have 5 points here, which, typically when you have 3 points, we talk for 45 minutes. So, dear viewer, please stick in here. Also, like, just take a look at the scrubber. I promised Trey that we would not go to the levels. I mean, we're already babbling, so maybe I
We're
should just
already
stop
babbling.
it,
Yeah,
like,
just let's
and
go.
start
Let's
moving
do
on.
it.
So my check-in question, especially based upon last week's episode, which
Yeah.
was called Our Doomed Metal Band. The check-in question I have for you today, Trey, which you've never heard before, is what is a moment in your, like, what do you think is like the first moment or the most formative moment from your past where something that was a setback actually turned into something that may have been or could be a big blessing?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think
Thanks.
that's true. I think in the long arc of history of an individual's life, that I think that tends to be true of most experience.
Yeah.
Like most
Most things
experiences that
are
in the
that.
moment are incredibly difficult will over time become these like amazing um, strengths and learning opportunities. As Austin Kopek said recently in a video we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
watching.
He
The
said he said the
Go ahead.
learnings are everywhere. No, sorry, excuse me. The lessons are everywhere. The learning is optional.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Stealing
what?
that, by the
Yeah,
way.
it's such
Stealing
such
that.
a good such a good take on things. Because yeah, you could yeah you get to decide what you want to do with that information. But anyway,
Yeah.
for me personally, um, I think I'm trying to decide between like professional and like personal life stuff. Like I think I'll just because it came top of mind. There was when this company that I did, Nebula, was acquired by Oracle. There was many mistakes that I made in that acquisition and bringing my team over, and sort of like how all of that went down. That at the time were just really kind of uh, just very painful sort of sort of situation,
Right.
and a fairly grueling couple of years. But that everything that I learned in that process set me up for growth in my career past that was really meaningful, because afterwards I was able to actually, like, things that people said, even from people that I didn't really respect much or didn't really like very well, was very useful and
I'm right
you
here,
know
by the way. I'm right here.
yeah, integrated over time. So anyway, yeah, I would say that like yeah, that whole like going from startup to being acquired by giant megalith, and then integrating into that and just all of the ways in which that didn't go well, has taught me a ton of things and made me better, I think, in my career.
Yeah.
How about you?
So for me, I think this story I've told many, many times before, not on this podcast. So, dear listener, you get to hear it only once. But if you know me, you probably heard this story already. Back in 2006, Trey and I had a tremendous amount of debt, and we were kind of living paycheck to paycheck, even though we were making really good money. We had purchased a house. The house did not close before we went on vacation. That vacation was not paid for in cash. It was paid for in credit cards to Hawaii. We signed the paperwork for the house in Hawaii, celebrated with champagne, then came back, tanned, rested, ready to go, excited about going back to work. I went back to work, was immediately called into the president of the company's office, and was summarily fired for insubordination, which is the only
Which surprises nobody.
which surprises no one. If you one day we'll pull up my chart. My chart has insubordination written all
Written
over
all over.
it. It's the only time that I ever got a detention in high school as well, was for insubordination.
Yeah.
I have a authority problem, as it turns out. So one of the things is that, like, without going into great detail, like, my boss and I did not get along. History has shown where our careers have gone. I have
Yeah.
gone in places that show where competent people go. She has gone to places where incompetent people go. So I feel vindicated and justified by my actions. Also very much me. But also the lessons are everywhere. Am I learning?
Who knows?
Who
Who can
knows?
say? Like and subscribe. Write a comment.
But the thing is that we had just bought a house. I had taken out a loan against my Roth IRA in order to buy that house. And the taxes that were going to show up on that were huge. We had all this debt. We could not pay all of our bills with just Trey's income at that point. And he and I went into a kind of shutdown survival mode that we will probably have to go to again when we are when I finally leave my job as exists today. But like, at the time, it felt like a huge loss. It felt like a huge step back. But I think the lessons that we got out of that and the growth we got out of that were immeasurable. And now I'm actually kind of looking forward to going into low power mode and shutdown mode again, because I miss those days.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, me
something
too.
very simple about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really great example actually, because one of the things, like one really tangible thing that came out of that was that I learned how to cook. Like we learned how to
Yes.
cook.
Yeah.
And that
On
has
the
become
cheap.
like, yeah, that has become like a lifelong passion. Well, I mean, that's in order for you to in order for you to do very cheap grocery shopping and then make very inexpensive food, in order to save money, like you have to learn how to cook.
Yeah.
And so, it started out very humbly, like making like, big like pot things like curries and things like this with everything you could find that was cheap. And then kind of like evolved over time to now many years later, a deep love of cooking. And
Yeah.
so many things came out of that I
Many
think were
things came
super
out of that.
positive. Yeah, but it was definitely
We,
a wake up call, and at first it definitely felt very much like loss.
oh, we thought that we would have to give up the house.
Yeah,
Actually, we were
yeah,
we were frightened and scared and horrified, and
yeah,
I was so ashamed. There was so much shame attached to that, and now that is all pride. And so when something like that happens, nothing that formative has happened in our lives since then, but when something like that, where the same feelings start showing up, now I say to myself, this is a learning situation. I can, take this and do something with it. I can try to like parry the situation into something that I can, it breaks me out of my normal routine, my normal mold, and I can learn something from that. And it is typically very positive, much
yeah.
like you had said in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
answer.
Making that arc efficient too, I think is really important, right? Like how quickly can you get to like transmuting this from trauma to uh integrated learning?
Trauma to integrated learning. So this week is really about like what we
Trauma
have
and
as the
integrated
trauma
learning.
as last week into the integrated learning this week. And there was a
Yeah.
lot that came out that was actually really impressive.
Yes.
So we're going to start with Trey talking about Asabove and so below. And then that will go into what we are calling WebAssembly magic. And then I'll start talking. So do you want to talk a little bit about this, what this is all about, what we mean by this?
Yeah, so these are the names that we've given to anybody who's been following along at this point realizes that we give sort of slightly tongue-in-cheek names to different parts of the application related to to our community and the domain that we're in. And
Sorry to
so
interrupt. The only thing that I personally dictate about the naming is that we cannot use initialisms
yeah,
unless those initial, but acronyms are fine. We can say the word radar, for example, but just using initialisms for the sake of using initialisms is not the type of company that I would like to
no,
build or the type of
no.
life I would like to lead.
Yeah. We both are really good about making sure that we're not using like 3-letter acronyms and shit like that in our
Yeah.
documentation. Stuff like that.
It's okay. You've already broken you've already popped the cherry on swearing on this podcast once. I'm still at 0, and I kind of want to get to episode 100 without swearing. It's going to be one of my goals, by the way.
That's a good goal. Well, anyway, coming back to this, just very quickly, we had to go from one platform where we were doing everything with one mechanism to sort of having this kind of like dual-headed platform now. And that has enabled us to do some really incredible things, and it will continue to enable us to do some incredible things. We'll show a little bit about that in a second. But so we've kind of, in order to make it a little bit easier to talk about these two things, to understand them as sort of separate domains of the same application, we have Sobolo, which is Phoenix, Elixir, Live View.
It's actually in the board behind you. If you just point up there, you can see it.
Is it back there?
It's literally, it says, I mean, you can't probably read it, but it does say Sobolo right
does.
there.
Yeah. That's actually exactly it. That was from when we were naming this stuff. So, and then we have Asabove, which is all of the, so this is like TypeScript and our new WebAssembly layer, and yeah, all of this good stuff. And our doc.
Nice. Doc's getting comfortable right now.
Yeah. We just walked into the scene. Yeah, so that's basically it in a nutshell.
And then Asabove is supposed to sound like Isaac Asimov. That's the hilarity.
Like, yeah, you pronounce it like Asabove.
Tell us how great that joke was in the comments below.
This is why I don't write comedy.
And then Sobolo, I like that because there's a gentleman that I used to carpool with way back in the Microsoft days, back in like 2001, named Jeff Sobolo, who is a good friend. I'm out of touch with him. I'm going to rate him after this, just to say like I said his name online.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah,
great guy. So tell us a little bit about WebAssembly then, because we talked about last week. We said we were looking at. I'll stall while you get things ready.
Okay.
We were looking at products, and especially products that were in developing economies or economies that did not have necessarily like good infrastructure, and how they approached certain challenges of network latency and things like that. And one of the things that we had learned was that many of these types of products and services use this thing called WebAssembly. And now you are knee deep, Mr. Henry, in C code around WebAssembly. And like, I want to talk a little bit about like the struggle, the hero's journey to the successes that we're seeing, please.
Yeah. It has definitely been a bit of a struggle bus. I think we're finally kind of like getting out of that.
That was me. That was me honking the horn of the struggle bus, like honk, honk. Yes.
Yeah, there was definitely a couple times this week where I was writing hot and heavy Telegram messages coming in sharp and fast.
Yeah, you were a little emotional. We haven't shared our Telegram channel yet, and I don't think we should do that, but like it was a little emotional.
Yeah, C, for those who don't know, as a programming language, C is garbage. It
C stands for garbage.
C stands for crap.
Garbage.
And it really shouldn't. The only reason that it won was because well, there's a few reasons, but mostly because of Bell Labs. And
Ma Bell.
With
the miscommunication,
Monopoly,
with the ill communication. Sorry, I said miscommunication.
And it just from a like even at the point in time that, well, anyway, I don't want to go into the big histories. doesn't matter. All I will say is that
big feelings, big history.
it is not a fun environment to code in, just generally speaking. And when you do have to do it, particularly when you're used to much better designed languages and platforms, it is particularly painful. But
I'm just going to
anyway,
read some messages from you from
oh
this
God.
week. I hate C so hard. Look at this stuff. And then you did a loop video
Stuff.
that says the title of the loop video is C is the worst. Because warning, this video might trigger you with flashbacks. Because I come from computer science and I have experience with C. So I might be stuck in C land for a bit. I went from Elixir to Elixir TypeScript and C, crying emoji face, to which I did the knife emoji, and I'm like, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the whole reason that we're doing this is so that we can deliver a product that is really, really exceptional. And as Jake said, this is a really important critical path for us. And the whole reason that we ended up here from the prior two videos is because of we really wanted to have a fast, responsive application, and this is the way to get there. So ignore this very slowly rotating Mercury symbol on the screen.
That's the development
really,
environment right there.
this
The
is the
slowly
product.
rotating Mercury.
For those
I think it's appropriate that it's Mercury, right? Because like it really is around like kind of detached decision making type of like just objectively looking at the problem. You didn't put Mars in here. You didn't put Venus in here. You put Mercury in here.
Yeah. This is this whole endeavor has been very mercurial for the last couple of weeks, for sure.
Yes, very much.
Also in that sort of shifting landscape sort of way. But anyway, yeah, this is just showing. This is actually just showing our rendering layer stuff, but it's just ignore it. It's total proof of concept.
Look below.
Yeah. So
look below.
I just realized that this other poo is brown.
Poo is brown.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So but the cool thing here is, as we were showing before, when rendering a chart in Cosmic, what we were showing before, there's a server round trip, and then that was potentially quite slow, or it could be slow over slower networks. We talked about all of this.
You're going to see a link to that video up in the upper right hand corner. Feel free to go back to that video. See, I know how to YouTube. It's fine. Keep going.
Cool. You can also basically ignore what I'm typing right now. The important part is that I'm going to ask for our new layer, which is not going to hit the server at all. It's just running within the browser via WebAssembly to render all of the
a lot of data,
all of the planets, most of the other like smaller bodies like Chiron and things like this, and True Node, Lunar Apogee, houses based on house system. I'm using the whole sign for this, but it supports all the same house systems, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm gonna kick that off, and as you can see, after I hit enter, that took 4 milliseconds to do. And the reason
which is pretty good.
That is incredibly fast. We're going to get into that in a second. But I'm going to do it again because that first hit right after you refresh the page, there's a little bit of an extra amount of time that it has to take. So even though 4 milliseconds is incredibly fast, this time it took 1 millisecond.
So the idea here, if you remember from last week, and again, go to the video if you want to see this, Trey was hitting up, up, down, down, and it was like up, go, up, This is now, yeah, like that.
Yeah. So this is just kind of like a little bit for reference here, because this topic came up and I was like, I can't even remember what 60 frames per second, and I could never remember. And this person, Michael Alar, who I went on to GitHub and said,
shout out,
you're a saint for doing this, because I am constantly trying to remember this or look this up, and this person was basically like, yeah, I've always been doing the same thing, so here's this thing, which is amazing. But anyway, so you can see here that 60 frames per second is about 16 milliseconds, 16 2/3 milliseconds, whatever. And
great.
So we're at 1 millisecond. Even if we took the 4 milliseconds that we did in that initial render, we would be hitting 250 frames per second, which is more than almost any monitor that I know of on the planet can
Oh,
actually
absolutely.
render.
Yeah.
And then 1 obviously is like, yeah,
And so
ridiculous.
what we're doing here is we're avoiding the network call. Therefore, we're avoiding
Exactly.
network latency
Exactly.
by doing these WebAssembly things that have to be kind of preloaded. So, but there is going to be a moment where when you launch Cosmic, you're going to load this stuff. It will happen as best we can in the background or someplace in a different. It will happen in a way that feels seamless and feels comfortable, so that when you're actually doing this kind of like click and respond thing, that it doesn't feel janky, slow. Those
Exactly.
sorts of
So
things.
we're going to be able to do all kinds of incredible, like all of the stuff that we want to do that is going to provide this sort of like real-time interactive magic, kind of the stuff that's in Urania, but even like vastly more stuff that is going to also have a lot more sort of complicated interactions that are going to be based on like astrological calculations at different points in time, sort of happening in real time. This is what enables us to get there. We would not be able to do that in the prior model where we're doing these server round trips. And just to kind of show like the data that's here, right? So I'm getting all of the planets, and also pointing out that we're getting the longitude is the position according like where you would plot it on the ecliptic, basically. But you can also see here where it is, with fractions, thousands or yeah, thousandths of a second accuracy. Thanks again to the Swiss ephemeris, which is what we're using to do these calculations, and speed values there as well. So, for example, you can see Mercury. This was my natal chart that we rendered. Mercury in my natal chart is in retrograde with the negative speed
Womp
here.
womp.
uh, so yeah, anyway, so that we got all these planets, True Node, Apogee, and then Chiron, Polaris, like all of these guys, Ascendant, Midhaven, and
Yeah.
then the houses as well. And all of that, we got all of that in 1 millisecond on
One
this machine.
1 millisecond.
Yeah.
That's
And
so
so we've
cool.
tried this out on several different browsers as well. So we've been testing this, and Safari is by far the slowest.
You mean
Uh,
Internet Explorer 2023? Yes.
yeah, Safari.
Horrible,
Anyway,
horrible
Safari.
Safari.
Yeah, Safari is the slowest, but even still, with Safari being the slowest, it's usually around 8 milliseconds, and always less than 10. Which is still way faster than 60 frames per second. So this is even faster. Actually, it's quite a bit faster even than Urania, which today feels very smooth and very fluid. So you can start to kind of imagine what this unlocks for us in being able to provide a user experience for like just really cool stuff, because now we can kind of like our bottleneck isn't going to be how quickly we can get this stuff calculated. um, so
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's that.
That is something. And good on you for doing this. And now I know that you're still a little bit in C hell. What are you doing right now that
Chell. I'm
is
in Chell.
you're in Chell? What is chelling you right now?
Uh,
With C.
Actually, I think we're just now, but yeah, just like basically as of last night, really. Um, I think we're mostly good to go on that front. I think there's some things that we're going to eventually need to add support for. Um, that things like uh, what was it? There was something we were just talking about. It's popped out of my head entirely. My brain is a little melted after this week. But yeah,
Oh,
but there's
midpoints, right?
no, because those will calculate. No, there was something. What was it? Ermagerd. I don't know.
That's
It's
okay.
out of my head. But anyway, there's as we are going forward, and if there are things that we need to get from the ephemeris, then we might have to add support for those things as we move forward and are able to kind of yeah, we'll add these things in as we go. We have access to all of the stuff that the Swiss ephemeris provides. It's just that we have to actually like put it into our wrapper that sort of wraps the WebAssembly and then build it. And then we now have like a production build pipeline for all of this stuff so that it actually like gives us the assets that we need in the right places at the right times. It's pulling in the right ephemerides, et cetera, et cetera. So it's now much easier to do that. We also now have unit tests, which is another very exciting thing. So as we are starting to build out Asabove, we will be
Wait,
able to put the same kind of unit testing in place that we have in Sobolo.
this is where I need the party emoji. Unit test. Yeah.
Everybody loves them.
Everyone loves them.
At
I
some
mean, we
point, we
don't
should
love
talk
them
about
like a laser show. We don't love them like this. Only UI gets that treatment. But yeah, confetti.
confetti. Yeah,
Um,
I think that's it.
okay, let me talk about animation then. And
Yeah.
we're going to move a little bit faster because you know us. So I had talked about the idea, gentle viewer, if you go back to episode 3, you might learn something about the Cosmic Console. And you might remember when Trey hit Command K to get the Cosmic Console up, it just kind of popped up. And I said, eventually we'll get to a point where we are going to bring some kind of movement and animation in, because that starts to get at like joy and feeling. And we like joy and feeling, right?
Yeah.
I've never done animation before. And so I, for the first time this week, did animation. And I'm going to be real clear, like my taste level versus what I did is different, but it's getting there.
You
So
wildly exceeded your your
I
quality bar
wildly
expectations.
exceeded my expectations, but I have not hit my taste level yet. And so again, in the interest of learning through struggle, I am there. It's fine. I got it. Okay. So this is a online animation piece of software that's called Fable, fable.app. Not to be confused with Fable the game, not to be confused with Fable the series.
It
They didn't
makes
do a very good naming strategy here because there's a lot of people that sit on Fable. And you can't find it.
yeah. Fable, please change your name. I know you're trying to get purchased by Figma and you wanted a name that sounds the
Oh
same
yeah,
and has the same number of letters, but please just change the name. They'll still buy you. They'll still buy you if you're able to make this work.
Figma Fable. Yeah, I
Just
didn't even think of it.
anything.
Just anything, just
Anything.
not Fable.
Just not Fable.
So what is supposed to happen? So what you're seeing here is a big blank screen, right? And you're like, that's really impressive, Jake. You did great. But what's going to happen is you're going to see a thing pop up. And the way the vision for this was that it comes out from like the depths, comes up above the pane. Excuse me, I'm drinking sparkling water right now. Above the pane, and then kind of slaps on the pane. And when it slaps on the pane, it's supposed to kind of spit out like stars, because that's where the stars live. They live on the page. So it goes whoop, bah, and then when it goes away, it just kind of fades away. And if I step through, okay, never have done animation before, certainly never used the software. I imported directly from Figma. You can see here that like every single layer imported, which I think caused a problem. So I have to step through it myself like this. So what happens is imagine you press Command K and then it kind of fades in. Oh, maybe I changed the animation. Okay, I guess it comes in from the top. It used to come in from the bottom. I think I probably changed it. I don't know. There's the stars that spit out, and then it goes away and it goes, yeah, like that. And you're like, okay, great. So I can show you here. I'll just press play a couple times on how it looks in full speed. Yeah. Oh, there it is. It did do the right thing.
Yeah. I don't know why it was.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
you must have changed it in the file. Since you like
I
that.
probably played with it afterwards.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So it goes, yeah. Yeah, it goes, bah, and then goes away.
Yeah.
Couple things. So Trey was like super excited by it. He's like more. And then I was showing people at work that I'd never done UI animation before. And I was not looking for critique, but I did get the following critique. Oh, that's really nice for a first try. That looks really early 2000s. I dig it. And then somebody said like, oh, you remade Spotlight, which is this thing, right? And I was like, and because I said I didn't want to swear until episode 100, I told them to flip off and get out of my face. And then they all laughed and they all went to lunch, which was very sweet of them. But anyways, that's just a little bit of animation. More animation to come.
Yeah, I'm
And
excited
then,
that we're at the point where we're kind of like starting to do some of the visualization around, yeah, like animation and stuff like that.
yeah,
It's cool.
yeah, it's going to be a whole load of fun. So this here is Figma again. Excuse me while I clear my throat. And let me just see what my screen looks like. Yeah, that looks not so bad, right? So one of the things we're making astrology software, and I've kind of showed this side of the astrology, this side of the board, which is lots and lots and lots of images of astrology software with lots and lots of different ways of slicing down like what it's going to like look and act like and all that stuff. Great. What's over here then? This is the other part of software, which is very important, which is the experimentation platform. So we call our experimentation platform, well, we call our access rights and experimentation platform both gatekeeper, because essentially what it says is there's a gate, they have the keys, you are either in, you're allowed in through the gate or not in through the gate. That's, whether you are a paid member or a guest, you will have certain access privileges and keys that you can go through the gate. One of the other keys that we can show in the gate, though, is not to do with your access privilege, but is around experimentation. So you can imagine, I'll give you a very hypothetical situation here. So imagine that like we want to improve you're going to have to really use your mind's eye here. So you go to our software and there's a button there that says like cast a chart. And let's say that button is kind of like dark and hard to see. And we decided that instead we're going to make that button pink because we want more people to cast charts. Very easy experiment, right? The button is black versus the button is pink, let's just say. What we can do is when people log into the software, we can assort them to a bucket. You're either in bucket black or you're in bucket pink. And we can see through an experiment if our hypothesis that if we increase the visibility of this button, that we would get 5% more charts cast works or doesn't work. And the reason why we do this is not just for science, but it's for user experience, because we want to make sure that we're making choices in our software that benefit our members and that we're incrementally improving the member experience every single time we do an experiment. Some experiments won't work. Actually, statistically speaking, 70% of experiments won't work. And when they don't work, the lessons are all around. The learning is optional. You can learn then from that moment, why did that not work? We can ask people why they didn't work, and then we can improve ourselves in the future. That's the whole point of experimentation. Experimentations, though, do require a platform. And this is me deconstructing from HelloFresh, because there was a really nice how we do experimentation at HelloFresh. I lovingly, put the slides down here that I have captured. None of that is privileged information. That is purely how to just do experimentation from an expert of experimentation. And then I deconstructed that into what's called an object map that will start to drive the experimentation for us. And it will allow us to jam. Let's jam on it. Like that.
Is that what is that?
Yeah, it's that
like a
it's that instrument. Okay. Let's talk about this for a second. It's that instrument that is in remember that mashup of all the YouTube videos that one dude did where he made a new song based upon other people's playing of instruments in YouTube videos?
Kutiman or something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Through You was that. Yeah.
Here, I'll look it up. Why not?
So much for making the video short.
Yeah. Why would we start today? Through You.
And I think it was like THRU.
Song.
Album.
Anyways, but that instrument is very much predominant in one of those. Here it is. Kutiman. Yeah, exactly.
I was close.
This gentleman, hold on, I'm getting a lot of YouTube things in my ears right now. Okay, there we go. This and this and this. It is Kutiman. So he's done a lot of work since then, which is great. But his whole Through You too. This whole thing, 14 years ago. I would have never guessed
That's
that was
crazy.
14 years ago. But I think it's this one. That it's no, it's right here. This instrument, this one, this right here.
No. That's that Greek instrument.
That's not
Uh,
the same thing as the one I just showed.
no, because the one you have in it's got a
Hold
bent
on.
neck. It's that
Let's
one that has
yeah,
like a
because it snapped. Someone snapped it
no,
because they were rocking so hard. Yes.
no.
Yes. Come
Are
on.
like
Yes. Here. Okay. I'm gonna put both of them up. You're gonna tell me that those are the same.
hold on.
That that instrument is this instrument 100%. Are you looking at my screen? These are the same.
Oh, there's actually
Okay.
quite a few. There's an instrument called the oud.
Okay. Well,
Has
this
that.
is big questions for the viewer.
What does a lute look like?
The lute looks like, I don't know. We're way.
No, that's a lute.
This is not a lute.
It is a lute.
Look at this. Do you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm showing you?
Yeah, it's a hollow-bodied stringed instrument. That's what you're showing between
And
those
you're
two
telling
things.
me that these two things that are the one that's in that video is not the one to the right.
Wait, oh shit! I almost ended I almost ended the thing. I just meant to stop sharing for a second. I want to show you this loop.
I like that you're just gonna end the
Like
video.
in the call.
You're like, it's over.
This thing. That's what that is.
Okay, fine. I like my explanation better. That they rocked so hard that the neck
They broke the neck.
Okay, fine. It's a lute. But anyways, let's jam with the lute.
Yeah. I think experimentation is also like super exciting. We were just talking this morning about whether or not we're going to continue to use Gatekeeper because everything in the platform has now become more complicated now that we have this sort of like two-headed thing. And so
As above
whereas
and so below.
yeah, and now that we have these two things, then we now have to kind of like anything that we're doing for like experimentation or like the stuff that we're doing in Gatekeeper today only exists in so below. So now we would have to have some understanding of how to do that stuff in Asabove. And there's actually platforms out there and businesses out there that this is all they do. And if that's cost effective for us, we might actually end up moving to something like that. But anyway, we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
That is a subject for another video.
Yeah.
Until then, be well, wash your hands, hug your mom, pet the dog, and have yourself a lovely day. Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.